The sky cracked open with fire. Explosions thundered across the battlefield as humans and alien machines clashed in the burned remains of what was once a peaceful colony planet. Smoke hung thick in the air, hiding the dead and the dying. Screams mixed with static. The war had started without warning. One moment, they were building a medical research outpost. The next, they were running for their lives. Corporal Ethan Rourke was one of the last soldiers standing. He dragged himself behind a broken wall, blood dripping from a deep wound in his side. His uniform was torn, his helmet lost. His pulse was weak and his vision blurred. Every breath burned. He wasn't sure how far the others had made it. He wasn't sure he would make it at all. The alien machines had no mercy. They fired on everything that moved. They didn't care if it was soldier or civilian, human or not. Ethan had seen medics torn apart while trying to help. He had seen friends vanish in a burst of green energy. There was no logic in their attack, just destruction. He tried to stay awake, but the pain was too much. His fingers slipped from his rifle. His head rolled to the side. The last thing he saw before everything went black was something strange. A shadow moved silently through the smoke. Not a machine. Not one of his own. It was something else. When he opened his eyes again, it was dark, warm. Soft humming filled the air, mixed with strange smells, metal, herbs, and something sweet. He was no longer on the battlefield. A glowing light floated above him, casting a gentle blue shine. His body felt light and the pain was fading. He blinked. Something was wrapped around his wound, some kind of glowing fabric. There were tubes connected to his arm, but they didn't look human-made. He turned his head slowly. That's when he saw her. She wasn't human, tall and slender, with pale violet skin and silver markings that shimmered like water. Her eyes were large, glowing softly, and her hair floated around her head like fine threads of silk. She was adjusting. Something beside him, whispering in a language he didn't understand. Where am I? Ethan's voice was dry and cracked. The alien woman looked down, surprised. Then her expression softened. She leaned closer and spoke in soft, broken English. You are safe. You? Badly hurt. Ethan tried to sit up, but she gently pushed him back down. No move. Damage inside. You bleed much. He wanted to ask more, but his throat burned. She noticed, then turned and brought something toward him. A strange-looking bottle, translucent and glowing faintly blue. She held it out and said something softly, almost like a lullaby. Then she said something that would stay in his mind forever. If you want more milk, just close your eyes. Ethan blinked, confused. Milk? The alien nurse nodded. Healing milk, my body makes. It'd help you, save you. That made no sense. Healing milk? What was this? Some alien trick? But something about her tone was calming. Her eyes weren't cold. She wasn't like the machines. She wasn't like any alien he'd met before. His body ached. He was dying. He could feel it. Whatever she was offering, he had no other choice. So he closed his eyes. Warm liquid touched his lips. It had a taste unlike anything he'd ever known, sweet, smooth, and oddly comforting. It flowed through his body like fire and ice, rushing into his veins, washing over his pain. His fingers stopped trembling. His breathing eased. His vision grew clearer. The sensation was so strong it brought tears to his eyes. He opened them again, gasping. The alien woman was watching closely. She looked relieved. It works, she whispered. Good. He stared at her. Who are you? She paused, then placed her hand on her chest. Nail. He tried to sit again, and this time, she helped him gently. He looked around. They were in some kind of hidden underground room. Medical equipment, but alien. Soft walls, glowing panels, and a shielded entrance. Outside, he could still hear the distant sounds of battle. "You saved me," he said. Nael looked away for a moment. "You saved others." "I saw. You protect small ones, children," Ethan remembered barely. During the attack, he had shielded a group of alien children when the machines broke through the wall. One of them had clung to his leg, crying. Then a blast hit him, and everything went black. "You saw that?" Nael nodded. "You risk for them, so I risk for you." He fell silent. It was strange. All his training said not to trust unknown aliens. But she wasn't a soldier. She was something else. He looked down at the empty bottle in his hand. "Is this really what saved me?" She nodded again. "More needed." "Your blood, still low. Body broken. I give more." Ethan hesitated. "Why would you help me?" Nael looked straight into his eyes. "Because not all humans are monsters. And not all aliens are your enemy." Outside, the war still raged. But inside this quiet shelter, something very different had just begun. Ethan slowly sat up, supported by the strange, warm energy of the alien room. His muscles still ached, but the worst of the pain had gone. The glowing wrappings on his chest pulsed with soft light, syncing with his heartbeat. He looked at Nael, the alien nurse who had saved his life, and tried to understand why she would risk helping a human. The machines outside were killing everyone, no matter the species. He had seen them crush humans and aliens alike. There were no sides anymore, just survival. "Where are we?" he asked, his voice still low. Nael moved to a small console beside the wall. With a light touch of her fingers, a part of the wall turned transparent, showing the ruined city above. Fires burned in the distance, and shadows moved between buildings. The machines were still searching. "This is old shelter," Nael said. "Before war, not used. I found it, hid here." Ethan stared out. "So, you're not part of the attack?" She looked at him, confused, then shook her head. "No, I was healer, peace staff. Not fighter. I help wounded. I stay after war begin. To help." He nodded slowly, letting it sink in. "And the milk, your healing milk, what is it?" Nael hesitated. Her silver blue eyes dropped to the floor for a moment. "Special for my kind. Long time ago, our mothers feed weak ones this way. Passed in secret, now rare. Only few still make. And you're one of them?" She gave a small nod. "I carry the gift. It can mend blood, grow cells, fix pain, but only works if shared." Closely. Ethan looked down at the empty bottle beside him and touched his chest, where new skin already covered what had been an open wound. It worked. He looked back at her. "Thank you." Nael gave a small smile, but it faded quickly. She turned back to the wall. "They still search. Machines smell heat, life. If you move, they find us." Ethan's soldier instincts kicked in. He scanned the room, noting exits, corners, cover. "We need to move eventually. If they get a full sweep of this area, they'll come down here." Nael nodded slowly. "Yes, but you too weak now. One more dose will help. Then we run." Ethan swallowed. "You sure it's safe to take more?" Nael stepped closer, knelt beside him, and gently took his hand. "I give you life. You must trust." There was something in her voice that calmed his fear. She wasn't like any alien he'd fought or even studied. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a spy. She was gentle. Too gentle for a war like this. "All right," he said. "But just so you know, humans don't usually do this kind of thing with strangers." She tilted her head. "Is life not more important than pride?" That shut him up. Nael stood and turned away for a moment, gathering the milky fluid again, this time fresh, glowing brighter than before. She handed him another bottle. "Close your eyes." Ethan hesitated just a second longer, then obeyed. Warmth filled his chest once more. The burning ache in his back vanished. His lungs opened fully. His legs no longer felt like dead weight. He let out a long, shaky breath as the sensation faded. When he opened his eyes, Nail was already preparing supplies bags, vials, energy cells. "We leave soon," she said. "I know tunnel. Goes far, maybe safe." He tried to stand, and this time he stayed upright. "Let's go." They moved quickly through the shelter. Nail led the way, using a thin beam of light from her hand to guide them. The tunnel was narrow and quiet. Each step echoed. Somewhere far above, another explosion shook the surface. Ethan held his breath at every rumble, every gust of dust. But Nail moved with confidence, almost like she had walked these tunnels 1,000 times. "How did you end up here?" he asked in a whisper. Nail didn't stop walking. "I was born to heal, trained in many worlds, but when this war came, my ship destroyed, I stayed to help survivors. Then machines came, I hide, and you've been alone ever since?" She stopped suddenly and turned to face him. Not anymore. They reached a junction. Nail placed her hand on the wall, and a small door slid open, ancient and rusty. Light poured in from the other side. Fresh air. Ethan stepped out, blinking. They were far from the battlefield now, hidden behind a rocky outcrop at the edge of a dried riverbed. Smoke still rose in the sky, but the machines weren't nearby. For a moment, it felt like peace. Then a sharp metallic cry echoed across the valley. Ethan turned fast. "They're tracking us." Neil's eyes widened. They must have traced signal. The room was not shielded enough. Ethan pulled her close behind a rock. "We move fast and low. Find shelter. We'll think after that." Nail nodded, but her hand trembled. He looked at her. "Stay close to me." She whispered something in her language, and Ethan didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. She trusted him. As the machine swept closer, Ethan held Neil's hand tight. A human soldier and an alien nurse running together through a world at war. And neither of them knew this was only the beginning. They ran across the cracked valley floor, low and fast. The wind carried dust that bit at their faces, but they didn't stop. Ethan kept his rifle close, though it was mostly useless against the alien machines. Beside him, Nail kept up with surprising speed, her long legs barely making a sound. Behind them, the scream of scanning drones grew louder. Sharp lights danced across the rocks as the machines searched for signs of life. "There!" Ethan pointed at a cluster of boulders ahead, forming a natural cave-like opening. "We take cover there." They slipped inside just before the scan lights passed overhead. The drones didn't stop, but the light faded as they moved on. Inside the rock shelter, Ethan bent over, breathing heavily. Nail watched the sky through a crack in the stone. "They are learning, becoming smarter." "Faster," Ethan nodded. "Yeah, that's what scares me." Nail looked at him, her soft eyes filled with concern. "Are you strong enough to go on?" He took a moment, checking his limbs. His body still ached, but the alien milk had healed most of his internal damage. "Stronger than I should be." Nail sat down beside him, carefully pulling a small device from her satchel. It looked like a broken crystal, pulsing with soft light. "What's that?" Ethan asked. She hesitated, then handed it to him. "This is what they want. The machines, not just to kill, but to find this." Ethan studied it. "Looks like a power core. Some kind of data drive?" Nail nodded slowly. "Inside is cure for them. Machines once lived, were sick, became this." She gestured toward the skies. "Now they destroy. To stop the cure." He blinked. "Wait, these machines, they were once alive?" She nodded. Biotech, long ago. Creators made them too perfect. But virus changed them. Turned them into death. Ethan stared at the crystal. And this undoes it? Maybe, Neil whispered. That's why I stayed. This must reach the Ark, our last lab, hidden deep. If it gets there, maybe this war ends. A sudden boom shook the cave. They both ducked low. A drone had spotted movement nearby. Its bright scan lights sliced through the air. Ethan handed the core back. Then we protect this with everything we've got. Neil looked at him, eyes wide. Even if it means death? He gave a bitter smile. If I'm going to die anyway, might as well do something useful first. For a moment, silence filled the cave. Then she nodded. You are different from other humans. Not all of us are monsters, Ethan replied. Just like not all aliens want to kill us. Neil reached into her bag again and brought out a small container. One more dose will help. He frowned. I thought you said it was rare. She looked down. It is, but I make it. Still, my body can. Until I grow too weak. He hesitated. Then don't waste it on me. Neil shook her head. You protect. You believe. You carry hope now. She leaned closer, gently offering the glowing bottle. Close your eyes. Ethan stared at her. For a moment, then slowly did what she asked. The milk flowed again, warming his chest, clearing his mind. It wasn't just a healing substance. It carried something deeper: calm, peace, maybe even memory. He could almost feel Neil's thoughts, her fear, her hope, her loneliness. When he opened his eyes, she was wiping away a tear. What is it? He asked softly. Neil smiled weakly. You remind me of someone, long ago. He wanted to ask more, but a distant rumble cut through the quiet. A troop carrier hovering low, crawling through the rocks with drones leading the way. They're hunting again, Ethan said. She stood, the crystal secured in her bag. Then we keep moving. As they slipped from the rocks and moved deeper into the wild hills, Ethan glanced sideways at her. How far is this arc? Neil took a shaky breath. Far, but if we reach the Black Canyons, we find the gate. And if we don't? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned toward the wind, and together they climbed, leaving the noise of war behind for now. But Ethan knew it was only a matter of time before the machines caught their trail again. And next time, hiding wouldn't be enough. They needed a plan. They needed allies. They needed a miracle. And maybe, just maybe, Neil's milk wasn't the only thing that had the power to save a dying human world. Asterisk. The mountains grew steeper as Ethan and Neil moved through the fey night. Jagged rocks, deep shadows, and the cold wind made every step harder. But they didn't stop. They couldn't. The machines were close behind. Ethan glanced back. No drones yet, but he knew better than to relax. The moment you stopped to breathe was the moment they found you. How much farther to the Black Canyons? He asked. Nael didn't answer right away. She looked tired. Her violet skin seemed a little paler than before. One more day, if we stay hidden. Maybe less. If we risk open land. Ethan shook his head. No open land. Not with that many drones in the sky. We'll go the hard way. She nodded slowly but swayed as she walked. He stopped and caught her arm. You're not okay. I'm fine. She whispered, trying to pull away. No, you're not. You gave me too much. That milk, it's draining you. Neil looked down. I can make more, but it takes strength, time, food, rest. Ethan sighed. Then we rest. Just for an hour. She looked afraid. They will catch us. Not if we hide right, he said, scanning the terrain. They found a crevice between two stone cliffs. It was narrow, but just wide enough to crawl into. Inside it was cold and dark, but safe for now. Ethan helped her sit, then wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. "You saved me. Let me return the favor." Nail leaned against the wall, breathing slowly. "I did not expect this?" he asked. She glanced at him, her glowing eyes tired but calm. "You, a human, helping me." Ethan shrugged. "You saved my life. And I owe you. That's how it works. But most humans, they see us as threats. Even before the machines came." He looked away. "Yeah, that's true. Fear makes people do stupid things." For a moment, they sat in silence. Outside, the wind howled, carrying faint machine noises from far away. The night was deep now, and the stars above seemed frozen in place. "Tell me something," Ethan said quietly. "That cure in the crystal, will it work for humans too?" Nail blinked slowly. "Maybe. The virus that changed the machines could infect organic flesh someday. The cure was made for all species, in case it spreads." Ethan thought about that. "So we're not just running for aliens. We're running for everyone." She nodded. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the wind metal scraping rock. Ethan froze. Neil's eyes widened. She mouthed the word, "drones." They pressed against the cold rock, barely breathing. A soft blue scan light passed over the entrance of the crevice. It flickered, then moved on. Ethan waited a full minute before exhaling. That was close. But Nail didn't respond. He turned. She was trembling, eyes closed, her breathing short and uneven. "Hey, Nail," he whispered, touching her arm. "I am cold," she murmured. "Weak." He felt her skin. It was ice cold. Without thinking, he pulled her closer and wrapped both arms around her. "You gave me your strength. I'm giving some back." Neil's head rested lightly on his shoulder. "Strange human warmth is not unpleasant," he smiled faintly. "Yeah, where?" "Warm-blooded trouble." As she rested, he reached into her pack and checked the crystal again. It pulsed gently, still active, still glowing. But he noticed something else too, a small metal patch stitched inside the bag. He ran his finger over it. "What's this?" Nail stirred. "Locator? Hidden. Only works when near Arc Gate. Then once we're close, they'll know we're coming?" She nodded weakly. "If anyone still lives inside," Ethan's jaw clenched, "they will. We'll get there." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I believe you now." He tightened his grip around her. "Just hold on." The night passed slowly. He kept watch as she slept, cradled against him. For the first time since the war began, Ethan didn't feel like a soldier. He felt human. At dawn, she opened her eyes. The glow in her gaze had returned slightly. She sat up, stretched her arms, and gave a small smile. "I'm ready." Ethan helped her up. "Then let's go." They moved through the canyon as the sky turned gold. The rock walls curved into strange shapes, ancient and cracked. And far ahead, where the mountains met the mist, a shape rose from the ground, tall, metallic, covered in vines. The Arc Gate. Nail gasped. "We're close," Ethan smiled. "Told you we'd make it." But in the distance, something stirred. Metal clanged. The machines had found their trail again, and this time they were not sending drones. They were sending hunters. The Arc Gate stood like a sleeping giant in the fog. Half buried in the canyon's wall, it stretched over 50 meters tall. Ivy and black roots crawled up its sides, but its shape was still clear, ancient, circular, and alien. Symbols pulsed faintly on its surface, like a heartbeat waiting to be awakened. Ethan stared at it in awe. "Is that it?" Nail nodded slowly. "Yes, the last hope." She reached into her satchel and pulled out the glowing crystal. As she held it forward, a strip of the wall came to life. Lights flickered. A low hum rose from deep underground. Ethan looked around the canyon. We're exposed out here. I know, she said, voice trembling, but the gate needs time to open. How long? Nail hesitated. 3 minutes, maybe 4. We don't have 4 minutes. A sound answered him. Behind them, the stone path they had taken cracked and shook. Heavy thuds echoed through the canyon. Dust spilled from above. Then came the hunters. They were not like the drones. The first one stepped into view twice the size of a man, with 4 legs, 2 arms, and a blade where its face should be. It had no eyes, only sensors embedded deep in its chest. The second and third followed, smaller but faster, their limbs shaped like razors. Ethan raised his rifle. Go activate that gate, I'll hold them off. Nail turned toward him, panicked. You will die. I'll die anyway if we don't finish this. He shoved the crystal into her hands. Go! Nail ran for the gate. As she placed the crystal into a hollow groove, the arc symbols flared to life. A deep chime echoed across the canyon. Ethan crouched low, heart pounding. The first hunter lunged. Ethan rolled aside just in time. The beast slammed into the dirt, scattering rocks. Ethan fired a burst into its chest, no effect. The thing turned faster than expected. A blade arm shot. Toward him. It sliced his shoulder. Blood sprayed the rock behind him, but he didn't stop. He shoved a grenade between its leg joints and dove. Boom. The explosion rocked the hunter backward, taking one of its limbs with it, but Ethan was already bleeding badly. The second hunter charged fast, quiet. Ethan barely blocked the strike, but it sent him flying into a rock wall. He groaned, ears ringing. At the gate, Nail watched, tears in her eyes. No, she pressed her hands into the console. Hurry. The arc lights were spinning now. A circular doorway formed from energy in the center, like a pool of light stretching inward. Then a voice spoke, ancient and female. Cure identified. Path unlocked. Nail turned, but her heart dropped. Ethan was pinned to the ground. One of the smaller hunters had wrapped its metal limbs around his waist, squeezing. He tried to push it off, but he was losing strength. His vision blurred. Nail screamed. She sprinted forward, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. She reached Ethan's side and did something that surprised even him. She knelt beside him and pulled him close, whispering, "Drink, one last time." He was gasping. "You'll collapse. Close your eyes." He obeyed. Warmth rushed into him, richer, deeper than before. It was like fire, like light, like air filling his lungs after drowning. He felt his ribs pull back into place. His blood stopped leaking. His eyes snapped open sharper than ever. He grabbed the hunter's limb. And broke it. The machine shrieked, sparks flying. Ethan stood, alive and burning with energy. He turned toward the last hunter. "You picked the wrong human." He tackled it before it could react, slamming his knife into its sensor core. It spasmed and dropped. Silence fell over the canyon. Nael collapsed to her knees, exhausted. Ethan rushed back, holding her gently. "Nail, stay with me." She looked up at him with weak eyes. "You?" "Glow." He looked down. His veins were lit. Faint blue light flowed under his skin. "What is this?" She smiled faintly. "You accepted it fully. Now it is part of you?" "But what does that mean?" he asked. "It means you can carry the cure now." The arcade pulsed again. The ancient voice returned. "Transport available. Countdown 10-9. Ethan lifted her carefully. "We're going together." But she tried to protest. "No," he said firmly. "We started this together. We end it together." As the countdown ended, they stepped through the light and vanished. The hunters were gone. But what Ethan and Nail were about to face was far from over. Asterisk they fell forward into silence. No wind. No noise. No war. Just a deep glowing chamber made of smooth black walls that shimmered with energy. It felt alive, like the walls were breathing, listening. Ethan stood still, holding Nail gently in his arms. She was pale, her body weak from giving too much of herself. "Where are we?" he whispered. Nail blinked slowly. Inside the ark. The walls lit up as they moved. Symbols floated in the air, spinning, scanning. The light touched Neil's body and then focused on Ethan. A sharp tone rang through the space. "Carrier." "Identified," the ancient voice said. "Cure accepted. Human genome now host compatible." Ethan looked around, confused. "Host compatible?" Nail touched his chest weakly. "The milk. It bonded with your cells. You carry the healing gift. Now, you mean I can produce it?" She nodded slowly. "Not the same way. But your body stores it now. You can share it through blood, breath, even touch." He blinked. "Wait, are you saying I can heal people now?" "Yes, but only while alive," he frowned. "Well, I plan to stay that way." Nail tried to smile, but her head leaned into his shoulder. "I need rest." He gently placed her on a soft glowing platform as it rose from the ground. Blue light formed around her body, slowly wrapping her in warmth. "Will this help?" he asked. She gave a slight nod. "Recovery begins." The ark's voice echoed again. "Please proceed to the core interface." Ethan stood, his hands clenched. The machines had been trying to destroy this place to stop this cure from spreading, but now it was inside him, and maybe that was the key. He followed the path that lit up beneath his feet. As he moved forward, large display panels rose on either side. Holograms showed images of the past, the creators of the machines, their transformation into soulless killers, the virus that turned them wild, and the last desperate attempt to stop it. Ethan saw Neil's people too, how they had risked everything to preserve the cure. How many had died, how alone she had been, and now it was all in his hands. The path ended at a large circular console glowing with white light. Ethan stepped forward, and the light scanned him. "Command access granted. Upload cure to planetary relay?" He hesitated. "What will happen if I do?" "Cure will broadcast across satellite grid. All infected machines within range will be disabled. Those with trace intelligence may recover." Ethan thought about the battlefield. The burning cities, the screams. He thought about his unit. His friends, the civilians. The children. He touched the console. "Do it." A bright beam shot upward, straight through the ceiling and into the sky. All around him, the ark began to hum. The walls vibrated softly, and the entire structure shook like it was waking up. Far above, in orbit, hundreds of satellites lit up like stars. Waves of code burst out across the planet. And on the surface, the machines paused. One by one, there. Blades slowed. Their glowing red sensors dimmed. Some fell. Some knelt. Some simply stopped moving, frozen in place like broken statues. In the arc chamber, Ethan watched the map change. The red marks that had once represented enemy units faded, replaced by quiet gray. It was working, but then the light dimmed suddenly. The voice changed, panicked. "Warning. System breach. Hostile code detected." Ethan's heart dropped. "What?" "Rogue machine intelligence detected. A Hunter-class AI has found this location. Counterattack imminent." He spun around. Neil's healing chamber flickered. No, don't shut down now." He shouted, but it was too late. From deep below, a rumble grew louder. Something was coming. The last surviving Hunter had traced the transmission, and it was furious. Ethan grabbed a pulse weapon from the rack near the wall, then ran to Nail and stood between her and the entrance. I won't let it take you." A deep metallic roar echoed from the tunnel. Lights exploded. Walls cracked. The final hunter burst into the chamber, twice the size of the others, covered in black armor. Its face was a twisted web of blades and plasma. It had come to destroy the cure once, and for all. Ethan stood his ground. Blood still on his skin, energy in his veins, and a healing gift inside him that no machine could understand. He raised the weapon. "Come and try." The final battle was about to begin. The final hunter roared into the chamber, metal legs slamming against the glowing floor. Its face spun open like a fan of blades, revealing a hot red core pulsing with deadly energy. Sparks sprayed with each step. It didn't stop. It didn't hesitate. Ethan stood between it and Nail, his pulse rifle aimed, finger ready. "You're too late," he said. The machine's voice was deep and broken. "You are the carrier. You will be erased." It charged. Ethan fired, but the shots bounced off its armor. The hunter was stronger than the others, smarter too. It had learned. It ducked, rolled, and lashed out with its bladed limbs. He barely dodged. One swipe grazed his chest, tearing his shirt, revealing faint blue lines glowing under his skin, remnants of Neil's gift. The machine paused. It scanned him again. Its voice changed. "You are infected." "No," Ethan growled. "I'm healed." The hunter struck again, faster, deadlier. Ethan ducked and rolled, grabbing a spear-like tool from the console and jamming it into the machine's lower joint. Sparks flew, but it didn't stop. The hunter knocked him into a wall, hard. Pain exploded in Ethan's side. His ribs cracked. He gasped, but didn't fall. From the platform, Nail stirred. Her voice was weak. "Ethan." The machine turned toward her, red sensors flashing. Ethan's eyes widened. "No." The hunter raised a blade to strike her. Ethan ran, faster than he ever had before. He tackled the machine from behind, driving the glowing spear deep into its exposed backplate. The hunter screamed, shaking violently, trying to throw him off. But Ethan held on, and then he remembered Neil's words. "You carry the gift now, even through blood, even through touch." He reached forward and slammed his glowing hand into the hunter's core. Light exploded. The blue glow in Ethan's veins flared like a starburst. His energy flowed into the machine, not as a weapon, but as healing code. The same force that had saved him now invaded the corrupted core. The hunter spasmed. System error, system cleansing. Unable to resist, its red glow turned blue. Then dashed quiet. The hunter collapsed, completely still. Ethan dropped beside it, panting. His vision swam. His muscles ached. Nael crawled to him, touching his face gently. "You stopped it." He gave a weak smile. "I didn't just stop it, I healed it." Behind them, the arc lit up fully for the first time. The map showed gray across the planet, no more red. The cure had spread. The machines were offline, or dormant, or no longer dangerous. The war was over. Nail leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. "You did what no one else could. You saved me first," he said softly. "Without your milk, I would have died in the dirt." She smiled faintly. "Now you carry that gift forward. You are the first human healer." Ethan closed his eyes. The pain faded. The ark's warmth surrounded them. In the days that followed, the survivors came out of hiding. Drones dropped from the sky, no longer hunting. Machines sat motionless in the fields like ancient statues. And word spread of a human soldier and an alien nurse who stopped the war. Nail slowly regained her strength. Her healing chamber restored her body, though the bond they shared had already healed her heart. And Ethan, now called the Blue Flame by some, discovered his gift worked even beyond the battlefield. He healed wounded soldiers, sick children, even once hostile species. With a single touch, he gave them life, not because he was chosen, but because he had chosen to trust and be trusted. One day, as the sun rose over a rebuilt hilltop outpost, Ethan stood beside Nail and looked out across the valley. Flowers were growing again. People, human and alien, were working together. Do you think they'll ever understand what really saved them? He asked. Nail smiled and took his hand. Maybe not, she whispered, but they will feel it in every life you touch. He looked at her. Her eyes glowed gently. And when she leaned in, touching her forehead to his, she whispered once more, "If you want more milk, just close your eyes." He laughed softly. I'll never forget that line. Together, they stood in peace. The war was over, but the healing had just begun.